So thank you very much, Group 2. I think you have spoken to us about the communication process. The main things I get here is that the communication process begins with the first stage, which is the sender, right? So the sender begins the process. So for an information to be transferred, there should be a sender. That is the person or the source of the information. And then, so let me ask professors, to all of us and probably to the Group 2 members, what is the last stage of the communication process? Is it the feedback or the noise? I want to be clear on that.
Sir, please, can you come again?
Yes, the last step or the last stage in the communication process. Well, of course, it is obvious that the first stage is with the sender, right? So what is the last stage? Is it the receiver, or I see decoding and then feedback and noise? Yes, Augustine, please, you may provide response. Okay. Okay, Selekem is also ready. So any of you, Group 2 members, you can answer or provide a response.
Sir, please, is the last stage is feedback. The noise is not necessarily a stage, it is like a barrier, something that can distort the communication process. For example, the class, so maybe someone's network issues or maybe noise coming from the person's background. So it's not really a stage, it's just an obstacle.
Okay, okay. I think each and every one of us here should note that point, that yes, communication ends or is even effective only when there is feedback, right? And feedback is the point where the receiver provides a response, because then the response will tell the sender whether the receiver has gotten the message well or not. Okay, so for example, if I tell Enam to provide a summary of what happened in the account office on a particular day, so I have sent the message, having gone through all the encoding and whatever. If Enam does not reply, okay, even on WhatsApp, social media, you see, if you send someone a message and the person does not reply, you see that you are not clear in your mind whether your message has been gotten or not, right? Some people even read it, but they don't reply. For those that even read and don't reply, we get agitated. Why is he not replying? Why is she not replying, right? So feedback is the major effective stage in communication, the last stage in communication. So thank you for hitting that point for me. Okay. So professors, let's get it straight. The communication process begins with the sender who, encodes the message, right? So the sender encodes the message, and I think you know the encoding, as in you put them in a format that is transmissible. Okay. So either into words, symbols, or gestures, right? And then you choose the channel through which you want to pass this information. Okay. And then it gets to the receiver, and the receiver would have to decode. And the decoding is trying to unravel the symbols or gestures you use in encoding the message. Okay. That's why, for example, if somebody sends you IKR, you see, as a receiver, you have to decode, you have to interpret it. What does that mean? Okay, I know, right? Those terms you have been using. Okay, so if you are not able to decode, definitely I'm sure you would struggle with understanding the message, right? But regardless of your ability to decode well or not, you need to provide feedback. So if you don't get the message the person is putting across, you need to give feedback that I don't understand. Can you use clearer words or statements. Okay, that's why feedback is very, very important. Okay, so thank you for that. I think I'll go on to the next one. Yes, they spoke about formal and informal communication, and I was happy about how they delivered the point. Now I want to ask professors, what is the clear distinction between formal and informal communication? This one is not to the group members, but to all of us here. Based on what they presented, what do you think is the clear distinction between or difference between formal and informal communication? And well, I may call on few people to provide responses. I'm sorry, it's a group presentation, but we are also learning. So, Prof. Na, based on what was presented, what do you think is the clear difference between formal communication and informal communication?
Please, the language and tone which it is used.
Okay, so the language and the tone being used in formal and informal communication are different. Okay, thank you for that point. I guess that's what you picked. Prof. Janelle. Prof. Janelle. What's your own take with formal and informal? Formal versus informal.
So please, formal is the official and structured, is the
Yes, I was getting the point. It's more official and structured. Okay, yes. And then what else? Okay, I guess the point was well made that the formal is well structured and official, but the informal is unofficial. Okay, I think you want to add more.
So please answer.
Okay, thank you. Let me go to Prof. Portia, finally.
Okay, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
And sir, please, for formal communication, Patricia. Okay, sir, please. Sorry, it follows established protocol and no, sorry. Let me come again, Patricia. Okay, say please, the formal communication follows an established protocol and channels, whilst the informal communication occurs through unofficial channels, such as the water cooler conversations, social media, or personal emails.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, some of the things we are discussing is manifesting around Portia, right? She was trying to communicate, and I think somebody is disturbing her. Patricia, be careful. Okay, so thank you very much, professors, for these thoughts. I think I'll be making some realistic summaries of some of these main things. But Prof. Mawina, before I go, Prof. Mawina, do you have anything to say on this communication process and formal versus informal?
No, please.
Did I hear a no?
Yeah, no, please.
Oh, okay, Mawina, I guess I would ask question. Now, they also indicated that communication could be upward, downward, or diagonal, or horizontal. I don't know if you get that. You got that bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask, communication between the school prefect and the headmaster, would you consider that as downward, upward, horizontal, or diagonal?
Upward.
Upward. Thank you very much. Okay, so I wanted to draw Professor's attention on the various, modes of communication. It could be downward, and downward means that the flow of information is moving from the higher authority to the lower authority or the subordinates, right? And then the upward is the reverse, from the subordinates to the superior, right? The horizontal is between people of the same rank or status or hierarchy. So, for example, assistant headmaster domestics communicating with assistant headmaster academics. They are all on the same rank, right? The head of department of science communicating with the head of department of business. Horizontal, because they are all on the same rank. But then the diagonal is communication between people of different hierarchy or status from different departments. So the difference is in hierarchy as well as the department. So for example, the head of department of business communicating with, let's say, the chemistry teacher in the science department. So first and foremost, they are in different departments and they are also on different hierarchy or status or level of authority. So that's the diagonal. If you are not careful, you may miss the point. So if a science teacher in the science department is communicating with an accounting teacher in the business department, that cannot be diagonal, but that will be what? Horizontal, because they are both teachers on the same rank or status in terms of the hierarchy of the school. Okay, so the diagonal deals with they are communicating from different departments, but they should not be of the same level. So that's what differentiates diagonal from horizontal. Okay. Of course, the upward, downward can also be referred to as vertical communication, right? So vertical, either upward or downward. So please, professors, take notes. I guess we can continue and move to, please, any questions? Any questions for us on this? They mentioned grapevine or rumor, I think one of the groups will present on that. So let's skip it and go. So group three members, group three leaders, please, where are you? It's your time to present group three. Let me get your slides onto the screen. Group three. Okay, there we have it, group three. So group three leader, please, are you here? Or you have gone to Akwetia to vote?
Yes, please.
Okay, King, you are here. Let me get it up so that you can start your presentation. Okay, so group three, I think we have it. But I think so far you have all done well. I'm really impressed and enthused about your work so far. So group three, over to you. You are presenting on the forms and various media of communication.
It's good morning.
Good morning.
We are group three. I'm King Taki, the group leader.
Okay.
We are going to presenting on forms and various media of communication. It's the next slide. So you have a picture illustrating the forms of communication. It's the next one.
Okay.
So I'll be handing over to my colleague Josephine to take us through forms of communication.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Josephine Irekwa Akwa, and I'll be presenting on the forms of communication. So the forms of communication are the different methods through which information is exchanged. It can also be defined as in business as the various methods and channels through which messages are exchanged between individuals or groups within and outside the organization to achieve business objectives. So they can be categorized as verbal communication. One, verbal communication. It is the exchange of ideas and information using spoken words. Examples: face-to-face conversations, phone calls, video conferencing, etc. So the purpose of this verbal communication is to get quick feedback and clarity through tone and expression. Nonverbal communication. It is the transmission of messages and information without the use of words. Example: body language, facial expression. You can also use nods, smiles, handshakes, and also silence. The purpose of non-verbal communication is that it reinforces verbal communication, conveys emotions or attitude. 3. Visual communication. It is the process of conveying ideas, information, and messages using visual elements like image, symbols, and videos rather than relying solely on words. So, 4. Digital communication. It is the process of exchanging information, messages, or data between people or systems using electronic devices and networks. Examples are emails, text messages, etc. The purpose of digital information is real-time updates, remote collaboration, and speed and efficiency. 5. Group communication. It involves interactions among multiple individuals, such as team meetings or group discussions. Thank you. So please, I'd like to pass it on to Prof. Enam to continue with the presentation.
Okay, I think we are waiting on the. Was it passed on to Ken? Yes, Ken. So Ken, continue.
Yes, we continue with media for communication. Next slide. The media for communication are the various channels, means, or systems used to transmit information and messages from a sender to a receiver. Some of the media for communication are traditional media. It refers to communication channels and formats that existed and were prevalent before the widespread adoption of the internet. Examples are print media, broadcast media, outdoor media, etc. Digital media. It refers to any form of communication that is created, distributed, and accessed digitally through social media, the internet, websites, mobile applications, etc.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Group 3. So that is it. From Group 3, they have exhausted discussions on the various forms of communication. what I would have wished was captioned the media of communication, right? Okay, I guess I'll be putting things in perspectives as we move on. Please, any question for group 3 before I come in? Any question for group 3? Okay, no question for group 3. Prof. Jason, you are welcome. I think you'll be presenting, yes, for us, hopefully next meeting. Group 4 and 5 will be presenting. We're presenting, I think, Thursday, God willing, right? So there we have it. I want to put few things into perspective so that professors can take note of few things, right? Okay. Now, regarding the media and the media of communication as presented by Group 3, we can give realistic, specific examples of such media, right? Now the phones are there where we can use email, face-to-face, report, etc. But if you think about all these things, you can realize that, let me pick a pen and put down some of these things. You can realize that they come in two main forms, right? Two main forms. It's either you are using words, okay? It's either you are using words or you are not using words, but rather simple symbols and gestures and all that, okay? So it's either you are using words or you are not using words. But you also know that words can be written or spoken. Words can be written or it can be spoken. Now, those that we write, of course, your phone, when you are texting, you are really as in typing or writing words, right? But if you speak in a video call, you don't do more of writing, you do more of speaking, right? Because then you are using spoken words. So the main thing I want to draw professor's attention to is that the media for communication comes in two main folds. That is verbal and non-verbal, right? And I think they show that here. They show that here, verbal and non-verbal. So verbal here means you are using words, and the words can be spoken or written. So under verbal communication, we can have oral communication or written communication. Okay, so the verbal can be written or oral. The oral is when you use spoken words. Okay, and the written is when probably you put the words in forms that either on paper or text or whatsoever, right? Then the non-verbal has to do with you don't use words, whether written or spoken. So typical examples of non-verbal medium of communication is symbols. For example, when you are driving on the road, you see a symbol. There is no word. When I speak of words, I know you are conversant with it, like using A, B, C, D, the alphabets, putting them into S or Sojin or Go 4-letter words, right? You don't see those things on those signs, right? It's only symbols. Like sometimes they draw a circle and then they cancel it or something. That is non-verbal communication. Or maybe your friend frowning at you. When you frown at someone, there's nothing like A, B, or C you can see on the person's face, right? Okay, so that is it about it. Now, the bit about the visual, digital, electronic, if we go into details, we'll see that Either of them may be conforming to the verbal or non-verbal. Okay, so let's note it that communication medium can be through verbal or non-verbal. The verbal could be spoken words or written words. So the key feature of verbal communication is there is the use of words. But in the non-verbal, there is no use of words. It's more of gestures, symbols, etc. Okay, so thank you, professors, for that awesome presentation. I guess we'll be summarizing some of the points. I'll be asking professors a few questions, and then probably wrap up for today. I think first of all, let me applaud all the groups. That was good job, well done. Even though I have few comments about participation and the slide presentations, generally I'm impressed with the work that was done. Okay. So before I come in with the summaries and other things, please, if you have any question or anything to say, who hasn't spoken today? I think all professors have spoken. So okay, Prof. Abubakar. I think Prof. Abubakar has not spoken today.
Zoe.
Yes, and Prof. Zoe, yes. Okay, so any comments, any question on what has been presented so far? Professors don't want to talk. Okay, then I guess let me sum up majority of the key points being shared by our various professors, and starting from group 1, I think group 1 explained communication to us as a transfer of information, right, from one person, that's the sender, to another person, the receiver, within a business organization or within or among individuals in an organization. That's great. They told us about some of the benefits of communication, which included conflict resolution. Of course, you can only settle issues between a boss and a subordinate through communication, right? Without it, you cannot resolve that. We're also informed that it builds or it boosts the morale of workers in a team, right? Collaboration and all that. Then group 2 took us to the process, communication process, telling us about how communication starts and how it ends. So now we are all fully aware that communication at least begins with a sender, right? A sender, someone who encodes the message and sends using a specific medium, okay, to the receiver, who then decodes and provide feedback. They also spoke about formal and informal communication, that in business organization, there are some form of communications that follow strict rules. For example, if you want to write to your boss to ask for leave of absence, you need to write a letter, and in that letter, you have to put the address, put his title, salutation, etc. So there are rules with that kind of communication. It's official, right? The other part, which is the unofficial bit, is when we meet as colleagues and we chat, talk about things even outside work, right? That's a informal communication. It does not follow any strict rules. I don't think your friend will tell you to salute or or give his address or her address before you speak to him about maybe something going on in the business, right? Okay. And then group 3 ended up with the various medium of or media for communication, which we have seen verbal, non-verbal. They also explored more of this verbal and non-verbal communication, looking at visual, digital, electronic, and the social media form of communications. So professors, these are things you have it. I'm going to share all the slides with us in the page, hopefully Thursday after the last group of presentations. And then we'll be wrapping up on this communication. I'll give you the summaries in the form of a note on communication on the page so that you can make references for your future per user. At this point, I think I'll call it a day and ask if there are anything from any question, anything from any of you. Then we'll wrap up. So over to you, professors, in the next minute. If I don't hear from any of you, then that means we'll call it a day and resume next time. So Prof. Abubakar and Janelle, I think I see Jane, right? Something there, right? Jason, Josephine, Ken, Mawina, Na, Portia, Augustine, Selikim, and Zoe. Thank you very much for making up in class and for contributing to these presentations, right? I guess we'll meet, God willing, Thursday to continue this. So group 4 and group 5, please prepare yourselves for Thursday. Then maybe after that, we'll take some few assignment and text, maybe group work, not presentation this time, group work where you answer and present in your groups, and I'll mark for the groups. And then we can search on, probably look at a new topic. Okay, I think the food I ate has been exhausted, so let me sign off. Thank you very much, professors. Have a nice day. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.